This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And I just want to go ahead and apologize. I'm your host, Josh Strickland. I'm just going to go ahead and apologize to you all that I did not make a single Super Tuesday joke during the Tuesday episode. I can't believe I botched that, and I for one, apologize. You guys deserve much better than that. You deserve political references for no reason, because that's what you want in your sports. Anyways, it's the Thursday edition. If you like this podcast, you can go ahead and like, rate, review us. You can subscribe to us and all that good stuff. I mean, only if you like it. I mean, if you don't like it, you could also do that stuff. That's fine with me. But, I mean, I don't want you to listen to something you don't like, you know? But if you do like us, do all of that stuff and stay tuned. So today, we have a pretty interesting show. We're going to start off. We're going to talk about the Houston Astros. We're going to get an update on that, how they've been treated throughout the league so far. We'll talk about the Spike Lee controversy going on in New York with the Knicks and James Dolan. Then we'll talk about LeBron James. How is he dealing with the new guard, kind of taking over the NBA as he is getting up there in age. And then, of course, we'll talk about the newest trade, the Broncos trading for A.J. Boye from the Jaguars. So we got a pretty good show lined up for you today. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Christian Yelich. So Christian Yelich, he was the MVP of the 2018 season. He was on track to be MVP last year in 2019, but then he got that big injury that happened to him towards the end of the year, and he missed all of September. He might have missed all of August too. I don't quite remember right now, but he was putting up MVP numbers until he got hurt. Everybody was saying that he was definitely going to be in the running of winning MVP again, especially in the National League, and I think he ended up second place in the National League voting to Cody Bellinger for the Dodgers, which I'm going to be honest with you, I completely forgot Cody Bellinger won National League MVP, but there we go. So, the Brewers, let's talk about their offseason real quick before we get back to Christian Yelich. So the Brewers, they're kind of losing, they're saving a lot of money, but they're losing some big-time players. They lost Yasmani Grandal, their catcher, and they lost Mike Moustakas. Both those guys went to different places for free agency. And the Brewers, I mean, this deal makes it apparent that they were saving to kind of extend Christian Yelich here. They wanted to extend him, and they saved money by not going back after, not re-signing Grandal and not re-signing Moustakas. So they offered an extension for outfielder Christian Yelich. The Brewers and Yelich are close to agreeing on a new 9-year contract in the $215 million range. The deal is expected to be announced on Friday. Now, $215 million, I mean, to the average person, that's absurd. That's a lot of money. But if you watch sports, if you watch baseball, that's kind of not that much for the caliber of player that Christian Yelich is. So Christian Yelich, he's 28. His current contract, he is owed $12.5 million this year, and then $14 million next season, and then there's a $15 million club option. So if the club wanted to sign him on for one more year, they could take that option and pay him $15 million. Now, this new deal will eliminate the club option, and will add 7 years onto his current contract, bringing the total value to a $215 million range. Most of the money will be deferred, bringing the average annual value, which that's the big indicator for these contracts now, is it's evident in the NHL, it's evident in MLB right now. NBA is starting to get into it as well, so is the NFL. But his average annual value is $27 million. Now, once again, that's a lot of money. I don't want anybody to think that I don't think this is a lot of money, but compared to other stars, comparable stars in the league, to Christian Yelich, which you have Mike Trout, who's the best player in baseball. He is getting paid $35.5 million a year. That's his average annual value. Anthony Rendon just signed a huge contract this offseason, and he's getting $35 million. Both of those guys, by the way, are the Los Angeles Angels. I don't know how the Los Angeles Angels are going to pay for all of that, but I mean, clearly they do. That's that Disney money that they're not affiliated with Disney anymore, but still. So $27 million AAV, annual value, that's kind of a little on the low side for a former MVP, potentially could have been two-time MVP. He could have won MVP twice in a row, and he's only getting the $27 million range. Now, the Brewers are, of course, known to be cheap, but when it comes to star players, they will pay them. So, I mean, maybe Christian Yelich knew that the Brewers weren't going to spend all that money on him, or they would spend all that money on him, but they wouldn't spend any money anywhere else. So maybe he took that into account, and maybe that's why he kind of took a cut here. And I mean, at the end of the day, $27 million it's not much of a cut. I'm just saying. I mean, I would take $27 million in a heartbeat to play for whatever team you need me to play for. I'm just saying. But anyways, so why does Christian Yelich deserve that much money? Well, like I said, he won the 2018 National League MVP, and he finished second to Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers in 2019, which that was a season where Yelich led the National League. This is last year. He led the National League with a .329 average, .429 on-base percentage, and a .671 slugging percentage. I remember he was leading the home run race in the National League. He led in home runs for the longest time, and then Pete Alonso took over for that. Yelich had the opportunity to be a two-time MVP. Then he got injured, and that kind of derailed the season. But he still was in the running. He was still second to Cody Bellinger because overall his entire season was insane. And, if he didn't get injured, the .329 might have went down, but he was dominating. He was the sole reason the Brewers were even in the race. In the race for their division last year, because the Brewers weren't as good as they were in 2018. But last year it was pretty much the Christian Yelich show and the Mike Moustakas show, and now Moustakas is gone, Grandal's gone. You have Yelich, so they could still make another splash higher before the season starts, but opening day is under a month away, so I highly doubt that they make any more changes. But this extension is good for Christian Yelich. It's good for the Brewers because the Brewers get to keep their guy that they want to build around. So this contract will also dwarf the largest previous contract in Brewers history, which if you're a Yankees fan or a Dodgers fan, this is laughable. This deal is laughable to a lot of teams. So the previous largest contract in Brewers history was to Ryan Braun, who's still the outfielder there. He's in his last year of his contract, this contract, I believe. So Ryan Braun, he signed a 5-year, $105 million deal. That was their largest, and now Christian Yelich takes it over with this $215 million deal. So the Brewers, they're planning on building around Christian Yelich. He is clearly their star player that they are going to build around and hopefully win a championship with. I really like the Brewers. They have one of the best logos in baseball. But as of right now, just Christian Yelich is not enough, in my opinion, to win a World Series, because baseball is one of those games where you have to have a complete team. I mean, you can skate by on luck as long as you can, but you have to have a complete team to win a World Series in baseball. And I mean, you saw it. I mean, the Nationals had a pretty complete team. Their bullpen was a little iffy, but they had a pretty complete team last year, and then the Astros, although they did cheat, but the Astros had a complete team in 2017, and the Red Sox had a complete team in 2018, which, by the way, next time we talk about baseball, it will probably, we're talking about it in the next segment, but next time we talk about baseball in general, will probably be about the Boston Red Sox, because the decision for that is supposed to come down sometime next week, I believe. So we'll find out if the Red Sox will get punished at all for their role in a potential sign-stealing plot. What I've been hearing is they probably won't. But when we come back, we will talk about the Houston Astros. What are the Astros up to? I mean, they're a big off-season story. We'll see how they are during the spring training's in full swing. We'll see how they've been treated, how they're handling everything when we return.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So the biggest story in MLB for the past 5 or 10 years, since the steroid scandal, since A-Rod, since it's the biggest scandal in baseball since the steroid stuff started coming out, and it's the biggest story of the offseason. The Houston Astros, they used electronic sign stealing, they used video cameras, they used trash can banging, potentially used buzzers, but that's never been confirmed. So we have the Houston Astros. They just went through a hellacious past couple months where everyone's destroying them on Twitter, destroying them online. None of the players really talked because they didn't have to. They didn't have to deal with media or anything because it wasn't the season. They didn't have to deal with the media every single day like they do during the season. Now, spring training has begun. Spring training started a couple weeks ago, and we are in full swing of spring training. And as you all know, we started good old spring training out with the good old Astros press conference. And we all know how that went. The Astros press conference went terribly. It went awful. Dusty Baker trying to be Dusty Baker. He's trying to, I really hate how they threw Dusty Baker out to the Wolves, because I really like Dusty Baker, but oh my God. Imagine being in his shoes where you have to go up and you have to, not really condone, but basically be like, yeah, they cheated. Sucks. That is a frustrating thing, and it must have sucked for him in general, but we are in full swing of spring training. We are in the middle of spring training. The season starts in just under a month. Now, there's a lot of speculation of what's going to happen to the Astros when the season starts. There's petitions online to sell out Angel Stadium with Yankees fans just to boo them. The Astros play in New York at some point. That's going to be a big story whenever they play in New York. If they ever play the Dodgers, I'm not really sure if they play the Dodgers, but they do play the Angels a bunch of times, so Dodgers fans could go in there and boo them. The booing tour, there's a booing tour that is going to go on, and it's already started in spring training. In spring training, they've been booed. There's been videos online about Jose Altuve getting booed in his first at-bat, Alex Bregman getting booed in his first at-bat, and then Carlos Correa getting booed in his first at-bat, and then he tried to swing as hard as he could to hit a home run to shut the crowd up, and then he spun himself into the dirt, which made the crowd even louder. So is this how the season's going to go? Is this ever going to die down? And in my opinion, it has the potential to die down. But it really depends on their schedule. So, it depends. I feel like home games, they might get booed a little bit. They might get booed like the first, maybe opening day, but I've seen a lot of Astros fans defending everything about it. So I don't know if the Astros fans are going to boom or not. But listen to this. This is so here I pulled up the schedule. So they start off with the Athletics. They play the Athletics. I think that's the start of the season. No, they start the season off against the Angels at home on March 26th. They play a 4-game series against the Angels. Then they go to Oakland, play the Athletics, and then they go on to play the Angels April 3rd. So April 3rd is going to be kind of a must-watch scenario, in my opinion. It's the Angels home opener. There's probably not going to be a lot of Dodgers fans there. I would highly doubt that, especially since home opener, opening day tickets are usually pretty expensive, but you never know. People are not happy about this. So there's a potential for a bunch of Dodgers fans to be there. I'm looking at this. They play the Mets, but that's at home. Then they go to Tampa. They go to Texas. In Texas's new stadium, the Rangers' new stadium. They have a 10-game homestand. Then they play Arizona. They play Seattle. I can see Seattle booing them. Play Kansas City. They play the Yankees at home, so luckily they play the Yankees at home. They play at the Red Sox. Now, that'll be an interesting one because the Red Sox have been indicated in this whole thing, and the Red Sox manager got fired because of it. So, it'll be kind of interesting to see how the Red Sox fans, the Red Sox faithful, respond. And that's a weekend series. That is May 22nd through May 24th. That's going to be a weekend series in Fenway. So, it'll be kind of interesting to see how that crowd is, because they are personally involved in this whole scandal. The move on, play at the Mets June 2nd. There might be some Yankees fans who decide to hop over to Queens and see how everything's going, and just to boo the crap out of the Astros. Continuing on, they play at the Nationals on July 3rd. They play at the Nationals July 4th. Which that's going to be like a noon game, which is crazy. I mean, it is July 4th. It's a Saturday, July 4th. It is a Saturday. It is July 4th. So I guess a noon game is fine. But in the nation's capital on July 4th, playing America's pastime against the team that you lost in the World Series, they're probably getting booed. Just saying. I don't know. They might not get booed just because the Nationals beat them. So the Nationals probably are just like, yeah, whatever. We don't care. We beat you anyways. Man, do they really not play at the Bronx at all? Oh, they play at the Bronx at the very end of the season. Literally, their last two series are at New York and at Atlanta, which those are two of the worst places you want to finish your season at. Mostly because of this booing tour as well. Because, you know, if there's two teams that I know that can hold things for a long time, and that's the 27 rings fans of the Yankees who feel personally attacked because of what the Astros did. They feel like the Yankees feel like Aaron Judge should have won MVP in 2017 instead of Jose Altuve. The Yankees feel like they should have made it to the World Series and they would have won the World Series against the Dodgers in 2017. They feel like they could have made the World Series in last year as well, which we don't know if they cheated last year. I don't think they did, but never know. And then, of course, you have the Braves fans, which, I mean, that one's going to be interesting. I don't know if they'll get booed, but that's the last weekend of the regular season there. So it'll probably be a packed crowd. And if I know one thing, I'm a Braves fan. We hold grudges. I mean, we booed one of the pitchers on the Marlins because he hit Ronald Acuna like 3 years ago, and we still boo him every time. I can definitely see Braves fans being a little hostile there. So after looking at their schedule, doesn't look too bad. They're definitely going to get booed at every away game they go to. And the real question is, will that affect their play? Will that get into their heads? That's the real question here. Can the Astros actually make it back to the playoffs? That is an interesting question to ask. Can they make it back to the playoffs? Now, their team is definitely good enough to do it. Because at the end of the day, Carlos Carrera, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, all these guys are still good. Still good enough to make a World Series. Now, that's why everybody's so pissed, because they didn't have to cheat in 2017 to make the World Series. I don't think they did, but they did. They ended up cheating, and that's what sucks about that. But here's the thing. Getting booed viciously everywhere you go, that's going to wear down on you. I know it'll wear down on me. If I got booed literally everywhere I go, now look, in football, it's not a big deal. You're getting booed 8 times a year, 5 times a year, whatever, depending on college and NFL. But you're going to get booed no matter what. That's just how football is. Baseball, on the other hand, most fans are usually indifferent to the away team. They're like, well, we don't want you to win, obviously, but we don't really care that much if you do, especially in the regular season. Baseball fans are very indifferent when it comes to the away team because, the whole respect thing in baseball, the unwritten rules and stuff like that. But this is a completely different scenario. These guys got caught cheating. They didn't get punished. The players didn't get punished at all. So some people think that they should have got punished a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see how visiting crowds react to that. And it'll be interesting to see how the Astros players themselves deal with these controversies. But when we return, we're going to talk about another controversy that is in New York. We're going to be talking about everybody's favorite Knicks fan, Spike Lee.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
The Knicks are having a rough year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So first off, they didn't get the number 1 overall pick, and they didn't get Zion Williamson. That didn't work out for them at all. They were banking on that. They were banking on getting Kevin Durant. They were banking on getting Kyrie Irving. They were banking on having all 3 of these players and immediately becoming the best team in the league. And instead, Kyrie and Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn, and they got the 4th pick, I believe. And I mean, they got a very good player in RJ Barrett, but that's not good enough to save these Knicks, in my opinion. So currently, they're sitting at 13th in the East. In the Eastern Conference, 19-42. They're 2 games better than the worst team in the league, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Barely have a better winning percentage than the Atlanta Hawks. So it's been a rough year. James Dolan got booed in Madison Square Garden earlier, and stuff like that. Now we have another interesting story surrounding the New York Knicks that has nothing to do with basketball necessarily. I mean, it has a little bit to do with it, but it doesn't. And it might end up with me going on a rant about how no one cares about the Knicks anymore. Anyways, I mean, that's just a fact. I'll get into it later. Let me get through let me tell the story first about what happened here. So, apparently, Spike Lee was going to a New York Knickerbocker game, and he went in through the same entrance he's always been through, something like that. That's what he said. He said he's always been through it. He entered Madison Square Garden through 8 Penn Plaza and was captured on video Monday night screaming in a hallway because he was not allowed to use a certain entrance to take his courtside seats. Later, he was seen in those seats watching the Knicks beat the Rockets. Which, yeah, by the way, the Knicks are the only team that is actually perfectly built to beat the Rockets in their small ball. But anyways, so the Knicks, this went viral. This video went viral of Spike Lee yelling at the security guard, and people were wondering, like, what's going on here? Why is Spike Lee, whatever? The Knicks said Monday night Lee had taken the wrong entrance. The employee and media entrance. And James Dolan and Spike Lee met at halftime and resolved the issue. But then this set Lee off. He said on ESPN he was content to let the squabble die down until he saw the Knicks statement. Which, I don't have the Knicks statement pulled up, but I should probably pull that up real quick. So yeah, he supposedly entered the wrong entrance for Madison Square Garden, and he was told to go a different way. So here's the statement from the New York Knicks. The idea that Spike Lee is a victim because we have repeatedly asked him to not use our employee entrance and instead use a dedicated VIP entrance, which is used by every other celebrity who enters the Garden, is laughable. It's disappointing that Spike would create this false controversy to perpetrate drama. He is welcome to come to the Garden anytime via the VIP entrance or the general entrance. Just not through our employee entrance, which is what he and Jim agreed to last night when they shook hands. And then the other pictures of this tweet. This is from the official Knicks PR Twitter account, by the way. And just so you know, this is not how you do PR. I've taken classes on this. This is not how you do it. So they took a very low-res picture, first off, of the entrance that Spike Lee went through, which it clearly says 8 Penn Plaza, entrance for employees, media, and patrons with disabilities only. It's like this little blue tent. Then the next picture is a very, very terrible picture of Spike Lee and James Dolan shaking hands. It's crazy. Look it up. It's still up. It's still up. I have it pulled up right now. New York Knicks PR official account, got the check and everything. Yeah, it's got 2K retweets, which I feel like should be more. But so, anyways, that happened, and Spike Lee goes on ESPN, of course. Said he used that same entrance for 28 years, including last week to Kill a Mockingbird, okay. And then he said when he stepped off the elevator, security guards told him he had used the wrong entrance and tried to direct him to go back down to the street and take another one. Now, there's another thing about this that this article does not mention. Spike Lee on First Take said that they already scanned his ticket. You can't just go out of the arena and go back in after they scan your ticket. You can't rescan it. So I can understand that part. I feel like they could have just let him go to a seat and tell him, hey, just don't go through there anymore. Then that would have been fine. But then Spike Lee said, I'm being harassed by James Dolan, and I don't know why. Why are the Knicks so funny? I don't understand. Oh, man, they're like the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. Which is crazy, because the Cleveland Cavaliers already do a really good job of being the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. But, I mean, it became a he said, she said. Spike Lee goes on to how much he pays for his courtside seats, which is absurd. And then he goes on and says, He also mentioned that it's a garden spin. I wasn't shaking his hand, which, I mean, this picture clearly shows him shaking hands. I'm not really sure what he's talking about there. In fact, when he came over, I didn't get up right away. Oh, God. Knicks released a statement with a grainy photo of them shaking hands, blah, 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 blah. Oh, man. And then he mentioned that, am I going to die before another championship? Is my son, who's 24, going to die before another championship? Then he said, what's laughable is how the Knicks are a laughingstock of the league in sports. That's what's laughable, effing laughable. So let's get into it. I brought this up a while ago when we talked about somebody going to the Knicks. I forgot who it was, but we were talking about when the Knicks were trying to get the guy from the Raptors. So I will never understand ESPN, media, any of that. I will never understand their willingness to sell for the Knicks. I understand it's New York, it's a big market, big media market team and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the Knicks suck. Have the Knicks made the playoffs at all? So, oh God, have they made the playoffs? Jeez. So let's see here. New York Knicks playoff history. Last time they made the playoffs was 2012-2013, where they actually won in the first round and went to the second round, lost to the Pacers. They also made it in 2011, 2012, and 2010, 2011. So that's with Carmelo Anthony, I'm pretty sure. So they have won a playoff series, which is actually better than I thought they were going to do. That's better than I thought they had. Other than that, they didn't really... ever since the year 2000, 2001, I guess. Let's go to year 2000. So the past 20 years, past 19 seasons or whatever, they've made the playoffs 5 times. Won one playoff series. They got swept twice. Lost 4-1 one time. Lost 1-4 one time. But, I mean, they won that series, which is better than I thought. Now, before that, the 90s, the Knicks did really well. They made the NBA Finals twice, lost both times, but they made it twice. The last time the Knicks did anything of worth is making the NBA Finals in 98-99, where they lost to the Spurs 1-4. Before that, they made it to the finals against the Rockets in 93-94 and lost 3-4, which that's respectable. Then after that, they didn't do anything of worth until 1972-73, where they actually won an NBA championship. So they haven't won a championship since 72. They haven't been in a championship game since 98. So it's been 20 years. Why do we talk about the Knicks like they're the Celtics or the Lakers? The Knicks have not had recent success. I'd argue 2012, 2013, that doesn't even count as recent success. They beat the Celtics, yeah. Then they lost to the Pacers in the second round. So why do we keep talking about the Knicks? The Knicks are not a prestigious franchise. They might be one of the most valuable franchises, but you know who else is a valuable franchise? The Dallas Cowboys. And you know what the Dallas Cowboys have done in the past 20 years? The same thing. Nothing. Just because you're valuable doesn't mean you're good. I mean, just saying. If I was a player in the league, I would stay far away from the Knicks. And I don't understand why the media keeps perpetuating this falsehood that every player and their mom wants to go to New York and play for the Knicks. It's laughable. When we return, we'll talk about LeBron James and how he feels about the new guard coming into the NBA when we come back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
So this year in the NBA, you have two really good rookies that came into the league. You had Ja Morant and you have Zion Williamson. Now, these two were kind of poised to be the new guard, along with Trae Young. They were kind of poised to be the new guard in the NBA. They're the new star players. With Ja Morant's kind of iffy. Zion Williamson is definitely going to be the next big star. He already kind of is. I mean, when he's playing, people are going to watch. So you could argue that he's already up there. But one thing everyone wants to do is impress LeBron James, because they grew up watching LeBron. LeBron's been playing for 16 years, and these guys are like 19. They don't know a league without LeBron James. So they want to impress LeBron James. Now, this sparked... Does LeBron want to give up the throne and make way for the new guard? Now, this was spurred because I found two separate articles on The Athletic. Both were posted within the past few days. One was posted March 1st, one was posted February 29th. One says the kid is super special. Ja Morant has LeBron James' attention, respect. The other is LeBron and Zion have never talked. Something doesn't add up. So let's start with Ja Morant. Let's start with Ja Morant. So LeBron exchanged jerseys with Ja Morant after they played each other. Lakers handed Memphis a double-digit defeat in Staples Center. James approached Morant, embraced him, and said whatever he needed on or off the court, he would be there for him. It wasn't the first time they spoke, Morant said, but it was one of their first public moments together. Then the Grizzlies answered with a 105-88 blowout victory in Memphis. After the game, James took off his jersey, signed it, sent it to Morant's locker. To James' surprise, Morant sent the signed jersey back, which, why would you do that? James said, I didn't even know I was getting his jersey, actually. I'm sorry, I misread it. I thought he sent LeBron's jersey back. No, Morant sent him his own jersey. But LeBron said this, I didn't even know I was getting his jersey, actually. I gave him mine for sure, but I didn't know he was returning the favor. It's just pretty cool. So this was arguably Morant's best performance of the season. Demonstrated all the things that have made him so special, and probably Rookie of the Year. If you think Zion should win Rookie of the Year, then bleh. But anyways, Morant got 27 points, 14 assists, 6 rebounds, and a career-high 4 3-pointers to carry Memphis to a win over the number one team in the Western Conference. LeBron James then said afterwards, he said, that kid is super special. We played him in L.A., and Memphis got a great one. The sky's the limit for the kid. James and Morant, whose teams won't play again during the regular season, may be seeing a whole lot of each other in April. As you might know because of my Zion Williamson coverage, the Grizzlies are number 8 in the West right now. Of course, the Pelicans are number 9. So these two rookies are actually kind of facing off against each other. Not necessarily facing off against each other, but kind of indirectly facing off against each other to see who plays in the playoffs and gets swept by the Lakers. Great, good job. Good for you. But here we go. This article then goes on to saying it's an interesting space for James to fill. He is simultaneously the OG and maybe the MVP. How can he pass the mantle on to the next generation when he's still clutching it tightly? The idea of an aging superstar molding the next generation has been at the forefront of discourse since Monday when Michael Jordan stunned a global audience with a speech at a memorial for Kobe Bryant. So, LeBron James is always finding himself going against players who are still in diapers when he made his NBA debut in the span of less than 24 hours. He played Ja Morant. Now he played Zion. He played Zion twice, by the way. And James have never met Zion Williamson, apparently. And he was restrained in his comments about him. He made it clear that a bond was already developed between him and Morant. James went on to say, I watched him for quite a while now. Once he got to the league, you start paying attention more and more. The relationship starts if that guy wants it. From my side, it's just all about understanding what those guys are going through, because I was in those positions before as well. So it seems like he's giving a hand out to Ja Morant. And let's move on to the other article, which is LeBron and Zion have never talked. So, Zion was asked about it. Why is there no personal relationship here? Why is there no personal relationship? Because it's clear that the media wants to make Zion the new LeBron. And they want Zion to take up LeBron's mantle when LeBron finally decides to hang it up. Zion says, I guess we haven't crossed paths. He said Friday after scoring 24 points, an easy win over the Cavaliers. Zion said, of course, so this is obviously not true. This is the fifth time since Zion and LeBron have been in the same building. They played last Tuesday in Los Angeles, which was the first time they played against each other. I covered it and whatever. LeBron said he's never met him before, never had a conversation with him, never met with him before. During the game, LeBron dunked over Josh Hart. He sort of body-checked Zion as two crossed paths down the court. LeBron later said he had no memory doing it. I did? LeBron said. I didn't even realize I did that. Okay. Juxtapose LeBron's reaction to Zion with his behavior following the Lakers-Grizzlies game last week at Staples. He was caught on camera speaking with Memphis star rookie Ja Morant. Whatever you need, on or off the court, you can contact me. So, it seems there's a difference here. Why is this a thing? Why does LeBron apparently not want to take Zion under his wing? It's very interesting to think of. So LeBron said this of Zion: he's playing exceptional basketball. I think every game he's going to get better and better. Just having that experience, I think today's game is a perfect fit for his game. Then Zion said of LeBron, he is an incredible player. His resume speaks for himself. He also grew tired of LeBron questions and comparisons that night when he said, "Come on, man," to a questioner. He then said, what I think you're talking about is after the game, it's like, all right, I played against him, a dude I've been watching on TV for a long time. I think everyone has the moments being around who they watch growing up, but just to kind of bounce from team to team, seeing different players, even guys I played against in college, it's always great. So he kind of brushes off the fact that he and LeBron don't really talk to each other. Now, let's get into it as I'm in the final couple minutes of this segment. I think LeBron's scared of Zion. Yeah, I think he is. LeBron is 35. His career is coming up. At most, he plays 5 more years. At most. There's no way he plays past the age of 40. I'm just saying that right now. No way. If he does, then he's probably not going to be the player that he was. He's going to be more of a Michael Jordan on the Wizards type deal, where he's still pretty good, but, you know, it's Michael Jordan on the Wizards. You're not burning the world down or anything like that. So, here you have this kid. He's the most hyped basketball player since LeBron James. And LeBron just doesn't want to talk to him. They're getting these comparisons all the time. and LeBron doesn't want to talk to him at all? I mean, there's a chance that behind the scenes they could be buddy-buddy, because that's how Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were. But in the public eye, seems like LeBron's got some beef with Zion, and I don't really understand why. Because he seems perfectly fine talking to John Morant, seems perfectly fine talking to Trae Young. So what's the deal? I think he's terrified. I think he's scared of Zion Williamson. Or he's mad that Zion didn't sign with his agency or something like that. I heard that too. That was a thing that happened too. I think he turned down his agency, and then yeah. So that might also be it. I mean, that's not as fun, but I mean that's a valid thing that could have happened. But when we get back, we will talk about the newest trade, the Broncos trading with the Jaguars, when we return.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Talking about the NFL again, and I promise you I will not make board game references. I promise you I will not. I promised myself I would not. So here we go. Let's talk about it. The Broncos and the Jaguars. They traded AJ Boye, I think is his name. So the Broncos on Tuesday agreed to acquire veteran cornerback AJ Boye from Jacksonville in exchange for a 2020 fourth-round pick. The trade won't be completed until the league year begins on March 18th, which that is when the floodgates will open. Of course, the article I read said this is the first shoe to drop in free agency before the draft and all that stuff. So, I mean, we'll see about that. But all intents and purposes, we still have 2 weeks, 13 days before the floodgates start happening. I mean, it's gonna be a while. But I'm telling you, 2 weeks from now, this show is gonna be popping with NBA, NFL news and March Madness and anyways. So at the Combine, Vic Fangio said upgrading the cornerback position was a priority for the team. So they had Bryce Callahan, who hasn't played an NFL game in 18 months because of a foot injury. Then they also had Isaac Yiadom. I don't know what happened right there. This name kind of broke me, actually. Yiadom. But he's been demoted a couple times, multiple times last year. So he just wasn't good enough to be on the team or stay off the practice squad and stuff like that. So they needed a cornerback. They got one. Boye was the best fit to play corner for the Broncos. His first season with the Jaguars, he recorded career highs in interceptions with 6, pass breakups with 18, and was selected to his first Pro Bowl and voted second team All-Pro. Over a 7-year career, Boye has started 62 of 93 games, totaled 258 tackles, 1 sack, which 1 sack's important, 14 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, and 66 pass breakups. So his contract information, he had 2 years remaining on his contract with salaries of $13 million in each year, and apparently this happened literally 2 days ago, so there hasn't been any discussions yet to extend his contract with the Broncos. It might be a thing where they see how he does this year, and then they'll decide about the future there. So, because of this trade, Chris Harris for the Broncos is more than likely not going to re-sign with them, and the Broncos still have plenty of cap space to remake the roster as they see fit. they would have a significant amount allocated to only 4 defensive backs once they re-sign safety Justin Simmons. If Simmons plays on the franchise tag, the Broncos would have $48 million in cap space tied to him, Boye, Callahan, and Kareem Jackson. $48 million just to defensive backs, safeties, and cornerbacks, just to 4 players. So, Broncos building up their defense back up. You got to build around Von Miller, of course, and try to get that defense back to where it was when they won the Super Bowl in 2015. And this could be a good spot. I mean, their offense showed improvements last year, so maybe defense is just the way to go. Drew Lock actually played pretty well, in my opinion. I think he played pretty fine for the Broncos. Maybe not good enough to be, the permanent option there, but he's good enough to at least, advance, continue, be a bridge, something like that. Anyways, what about the Jaguars? How do the Jaguars do on this deal? The Jaguars wanted to free more money up so they can spend more money on free agents, which once again, 2 weeks from now, could be talking about the Jaguars a lot. Trading Boye created a major hole to fill, but gives Jacksonville cap savings of $11.5 million. They dealt Jalen Ramsey, of course, earlier this year, or in the season. So in dealing with Ramsey and Boye, the Jags will probably use one of their 2 first-round picks, which they have the number 9 pick and they have the number 20 pick, on a cornerback. Now, number 9 might be a little too low to go for the best cornerback in the draft, which is Ohio State's Jeff Okudah. But the rest of the class should be available. I mean, there's still some other good DBs in there. You got A.J. Terrell and DBs like that. I mean, Isaiah Simmons probably won't be on the board, but if he's there, you take him. Or they can get a defensive lineman like South Carolina's Javon Kinlaw and settle for a second-tier cornerback with the number 20 pick, like C.J. Henderson from Florida, Trayvon Diggs from Alabama, or LSU's Christian Fulton. They could get any of those guys at the number 20 pick. Jaguars also will tag and they're having a little dispute with Yannick Nagako. They're having difficulties with him. He said he doesn't want to play for the Jaguars anymore. So more than likely, the Jaguars are going to franchise tag him, and then trade him to somewhere where he does want to play. So that's another. They're going to need to fill in that defensive lineman holes, which brings up the Javon Kinlaw proposition, getting him at 9 and getting a second tier cornerback at number 20. And with all this, they have a bunch of draft capital. They have 2 extra picks next year in the 2021 draft because of Jalen Ramsey. They could use those to trade up from number 9 or 20 if the right prospect is there and they think that prospect is worth trading up those picks and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they have a lot of picks. They got these 2 first round picks. Pretty sure they have the rest of their picks as well. The Jaguars are actually pretty set up in a good spot, and this is what happens when you know what you're doing at quarterback. As we discussed on Tuesday, they are looking to trade Nick Foles, and they're going to stick with Gardner Minshew. I completely blanked on Gardner Minshew's name. I don't know how I did that. But so they're going to trade Nick Foles away, mostly because they'll save some cap space. I mean, they're going to have to take a hit on paying some of that. So teams will actually, trade them for it, but they're not going to get a huge return on that. They're definitely not going to get a lot of picks or anything like that, but they might get like a 5th or a 6th. Something like, because nobody's going to take on that huge contract and give up a first-round pick. It's not happening. Nick Foles you're not going to get a first-round pick out of Nick Foles anyways. But this is what happens when you actually have a quarterback and you know what you're doing quarterback-wise. And then you still have Leonard Fournette, so you're good running back-wise. Offensively, they probably could improve that offensive line, which the offensive line is another thing they could improve on in this draft. So it looks like defensive line, cornerback, and offensive line are going to be things that the Jaguars will be looking for in this draft. But they've pretty much got everything else figured out. The Jaguars are actually kind of sitting pretty right now, which is something I will never say ever again, probably. I mean, to be fair, they've looked better. They got new offensive staff. They got Ben McAdoo as quarterback coach. Hopefully he doesn't ruin Gardner Minshew. Then you have Jay Gruden, former Redskins head coach. He is down in Jacksonville now to be the offensive coordinator. Jay Gruden, he's not a terrible coach. I think his main issue in Washington was the ownership. So we'll see how he does in an offense coordinator role with the Jaguars, with Gardner Minshew, Leonard Fournette. I really do think so. If the Jaguars have a really good draft, they could be pretty solid because they have a lot of picks. They got a lot of draft capital. They have the quarterback they want already in place. They got a running back. Defense should still be pretty okay. They just got to fill in these holes with these draft picks. And this trade, ultimately, they got rid of cap space so they can spend money on free agents, which, once again, 2 weeks from now, free agency. Which, of course, I'm saying all this stuff and absolutely nothing is going to happen 2 weeks from now. And it's going to take like a week or something for stuff to start coming out. But there you go. That's that trade. I think it kind of works out for both teams pretty well. Jacksonville needed to get rid of some cap, and the Broncos needed a cornerback. So it worked out it's one of those rare trades where it kind of works out for both teams. Obviously, we'll see how Boye plays for the Broncos in the upcoming season. We'll see what the Jaguars draft and get in free agency to really solidify who won or lost. But this is a pretty even trade, in my opinion. But when we return, I'm going to try something new. And by that, I mean I'm copying another podcast. We're going to be doing a bracket in the last segment when we return.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and one championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, let's start it out. So this week, pretty much, I might do this. I'm not going to do this on Tuesdays because that's the XFL Power Rankings, but I might do it on Thursdays and Sundays for this entire month because it is March. March Madness is coming up, so brackets are going to be all over the place. So I thought I'm going to do like a random bracket. So this week, I'm a little prepared. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of did this at the last second. I literally thought about it like halfway through the last segment. So I'm a little ill prepared here. So I just kind of pulled up a random bracket. From now on, I'm going to make my own bracket. We're only going to do 16, and we're going to kind of run through it quickly, so if you don't like my explanations, I apologize. I don't have a lot of time to give you explanations. So here we go. We're going to do best candy. So I pulled up a best candy bracket. It's kind of already done, so now it's a full 64 bracket, but we're just going to do the Sweet 16 because, sweet. But we're just going to do the Sweet 16 because, like I said, we don't have a lot of time. So let's start it off. M&M's versus Gummy Bears is the first one, which that is a heavy hitter. That is a crazy first matchup here. So M&M's are kind of the best treat to kind of have. You can just pop them in your mouth and stuff like that, and it's milk chocolatey goodness. Gummy Bears, I like the consistency of Gummy Bears, but I think Gummy Bears are inconsistent in the consistency, if that makes any sense. I feel like it's always a gamble because I like the really, really squishy gummy bears, but sometimes you get gummy bears that are like just hard. They don't do much. I mean, they're just hard, you know? I mean, not trying to make it sexual or anything, but I mean, but M&M's, always consistent, always tastes good. So I'm going to move to M&M's going on to the next round. Next up, we have Skittles versus Dove Chocolate. Now, I'm not really a Dove Chocolate guy. Not really a Dove Chocolate guy. I mean, it's good. It's good chocolate, but I mean, there's not really much difference between Dove Chocolate and any other chocolate, in my opinion. So I'm going to move Skittles on here, because Skittles, the different flavors of Skittles are always pretty good. So yeah, I'm going with Skittles right there. Next up, we have Snickers versus Gummy Worms. With Gummy Worms fall into the same trap as Gummy Bears. They're too inconsistent. There's not... They can be hard. I do like Gummy Worms better than Gummy Bears, though. I will say that. Snickers used to be my favorite candy bar. So then something happened, and I just stopped liking it out of nowhere. But I'm going to choose Snickers out of this. I feel like chocolate's going to win. Well, I mean, chocolate didn't win last one. But I'm going to go with Snickers out in this one. It's just a lot going on with Snickers, you know? Gummy Worms, like I said, they have the inconsistency thing. So that knocks them out. But next, Kit Kat versus Reese's Pieces. This is a good one. I really like Kit Kats. Kit Kats are probably like my third favorite. Reese's Pieces, whatever, however you say it. I mean, what's the difference between that and Reese's? I'm just saying. I mean, they're basically M&Ms just with a little peanut butter in them. But then you have peanut butter. You got peanut butter M&Ms too. So I'm going with Kit Kat just for originality. Just saying. That might be a controversial opinion, but we'll move on. Reese's versus peanut M&Ms. Speaking of both of those, I'm going with Reese's on this just to save my ass here. Peanut M&Ms, I enjoy them. I'm a big fan of like cracking them open with my teeth, getting the peanut out. I don't know why. It doesn't change the taste or anything at all. It's just kind of a fun thing to do, I guess. I'm weird like that, but I am going Reese's. You can't beat a good Reese's, whatever, peanut butter cup. Next up, Twizzlers Three Musketeers. This is easily the worst matchup. This is easily the worst matchup out of all of these. So Three Musketeers, I like Three Musketeers. They're very creamy. And I'm probably going to go with Three Musketeers here because Twizzlers don't really have a taste to me. Like, I know it's supposed to be like cherry or something, but like, and you can get different flavors, obviously. Twizzlers never really had a taste to me. So I'm going with Three Musketeers here. Next, peanut butter M&Ms. Like I said, against Hershey's Kisses, I'm going with the classic Hershey Kisses. Just saying, peanut butter M&Ms. I already chose M&Ms. I already knocked out Reese's Pieces. I feel like I'd get murdered if I chose peanut butter M&Ms in this case. Hershey's Kisses, you can't beat a good Hershey's Kiss, so I'm going with Hershey Kisses. Then, last one in the first round, you got Twix versus York Peppermint Patty. Twix. All right, cool. All right, so second round. We got M&M's versus Skittles. Now, this is the ultimate rivalry matchup here, and I hate that I made this in the second round, but like I said, milk chocolatey goodness in M&M's, but Skittles got that fruity flavor. It really depends on which you rather have, chocolate or fruit. So, I don't really know what to tell you here, but I think I'm going to go Skittles here. Going with the upset. I'm going to go Skittles here. Yeah, going to go Skittles to move on to the semifinals here. Then, next up, we have Snickers versus Kit Kat. I personally like Kit Kat. I like the wafers a little better. Snickers do have a lot more going on with the nuts and stuff, and the caramel. This is a good one. This is a tough one, actually. I'll actually move Snickers. I'll move Snickers on. Yeah, I'll move Snickers on. Yeah. Next up, we got Reese's versus Three Musketeers. Reese's wins that, obviously. And then we have Twix versus Hershey Kisses, and I'm going to move Twix on. Yeah, so we're going to move on to the semifinals. And, yeah, I mean, we got Snickers versus Skittles. Then we got Twix versus Reese's. That's the final four. All right. So Skittles as the lone non-chocolate thing here. Oh man. So I really do like Skittles. I feel like Snickers should not be here, honestly. So I'm actually going to move Skittles onto the finals. I'm just going to do it. So let me give an explanation. So Snickers are good, but I feel like they're over encumbering, you know? Like you don't really like Snickers. I feel like you don't eat as a snack. I feel like Snickers is something you eat to fill your stomach up. I never really saw it as a snack because there's just a lot of it. And as a tiny bar, you can get the king size if you're insane. But they're tiny bars and they're packed full of stuff. But Skittles is one of the perfect snacks. You get a bag, pop them in. Each one is a different flavor, so you're getting different flavors going on every time you pop one in. So I'm going Skittles to move on to the finals here. Twix Reese's is a big one. These are two of my favorites. I love Twix. Oh, I love Twix so much. I'm actually probably going to choose Twix because this is my bracket and there's no one else here. This is my bracket. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is my bracket. I'm choosing Twix over Reese's. Reese's, the peanut butter. So I like peanut butter. I just want to put that out there right now. I really do like peanut butter a lot. But my issue with peanut butter is it gets stuck. It gets stuck in your teeth. Gets stuck in the roof of your mouth. So I try to avoid peanut butter as much as possible. So I'm moving Twix on. So we got Skittles versus Twix. Skittles versus Twix. Now, I might have to judge this based solely on the commercials. So Skittles commercials are weird. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody's seen Skittle commercials. They're weird as hell. You had that commercial of the dude with like Skittles over his face and the girl was like eating them off his face. That's weird. Twix commercials are pretty funny. The right versus the left, it depends on how you feel about those. But they were funny when they first came out. Now, not so much. Man. I'm trying to visualize myself if I'm at a store, which would I rather get? Would I rather get a Twix or would I rather get Skittles? And really, it depends on the time of year. If it's the summer, I'm probably going to go Skittles. If it's winter, I'm going Twix. But overall, Twix, and this is unfair. Sorry, I'm biased. This is what happens when I don't have anybody else to argue with me. Overall, Twix is my favorite candy. So Twix will win the best candy bracket, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, if you think any of these were wrong, you can, of course, contact me. You can leave a comment. You can leave a review. You can leave a review and just be like, man, this Josh guy knows nothing about candy. And I'll be like, okay, that's fair. I host a sports podcast. But if you want to argue with me about any of this, you can follow me on Twitter at Strickland_Josh. You can leave a review and tell me how bad of a candy bracket guy I am. But thank you for listening, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Please like, rate, subscribe if you really like this podcast. And we'll do another stupid bracket next time. I'll be a little bit more prepared next time. But we'll do another stupid bracket next on Sunday. And yeah, so thank you for listening, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday and a great weekend. And I'll talk to you guys on Sunday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.